Let's take a look at how we can interpret slope and intercept in a real-world situation. So here we have graphed the one-day ticket prices at Disney World for the given year. Businesses will often use equations that will closely fit or estimate graphs like this in order to predict future trends. So we're given a linear function, f of x equals 4.46x plus 81.68, to approximate the data shown. That's this blue line that we have here. Okay, so that line, where x represents the number of years since 2010 and y is the ticket price for that year. And we see those listed as the x and y axis, the years for the x-axis, and the price for the y-axis. When we want to interpret the key values of these functions, we need to consider what x and y represent. Now, slope, recall, is the change in y over the change in x. Change in y over change in x. And as we consider the change in y over the change in x for slope, that's how we're going to interpret the meaning of the slope. So the change in y is the change in the price. Change in price. While change in x is change in time, or change in the years. So if we consider the slope of our equation given as 4.46 over 1, any value we can make a fraction by putting it over 1, 4.46 represents a change in price. The price is going up by $4.46 every 1 year in increase. So we can state that the slope represents the price increases by $4.46 every 1 year. So every year the price increases by $4.46 just by looking at what the variables represent, what the y and the x represent. We can do the same thing with our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is our ordered pair 0, 81.68, and we can just interpret that by looking at what x and y represents. So at year 0, that's what 0 is, the x values is year, so in the year 2010, 0 years after 2010, then we go ahead and we look at the y value. The y value represents price. The price was $81.68. So we just looked at the x and the y. Now what we can do is we can use our equation to make a prediction for the year 2021. Well, we have to think about what x is going to be. Well, it's years after 2010. Well, 2021 less 2010 is 11. So 11 years after 2010 for x. So we can evaluate our function for f of 11. 4.46 times 11 plus 81.68. And when we evaluate that, we find that the price of the ticket is $130.74.